You're listening to Season 4, Episode 8 of the Indie Artist Tribe podcast with me, your host, Angela Matamocha. Welcome. Hi there, good people. Hi. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's guest is the epitome of a multi-hyphenate artist. This truly dynamic man is an author, a photographer. He is the singer of one of my favorite bands, T.S.O.L. And last, but certainly not least, he is a filmmaker. Good people, I bring to you Jack Grisham. Jack, welcome.
Thank you. I think call it, what is that? That introduction could have went much longer.
Really? You want more?
Come on, butter it up.
Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I have been, as I'm sure thousands of other people, hundreds of thousands around the world, a fan of your work, and not just your work as a musician, but also your novels and most recently your films. Let's dive right in. There's a lot I want to talk about. First things first, and this was an interesting one for me to go through. American Demon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was yeah, yeah. That was something. Something. Well, you know what's funny? Okay. So when I started writing it, I was putting it together and I couldn't hit on it. Like I didn't want to be one of those guys that just comes out and just says, "Oh, such a badass. I did that." Like just some bullshit tale of just, how screwed up they were. Like that didn't sit well with me. It didn't feel
Right.
good to me. And then I was trying to find like some sort of a vehicle to write it. And I sent some first drafts to a friend, and he hated it. He was a solid guy. Like I trust this guy. Like he's good. He's like a big studio guy head. He's legitimate, I guess, in the business. And he said, Jack, look, he goes, we know you're an asshole. Everybody knows you're an asshole, but you're a really lovable asshole. And the guy
Yes.
in this story isn't. So
Ah,
it's like, okay, so now what the hell do I do? And then I was walking down on the beach one day. I'm thinking, fuck, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? How am I gonna write this? And I thought back to this church. When I was about 15 years old, I was involved in a very small church, a small group of and people are surprised sometimes of my knowledge of scripture. And I was involved in this really small church, and they went on to be a huge mega church. They're like a big mega church now. And the pastor one day did a sermon saying that one of the early members of the church had been seduced by Satan and punk rock and pulled from the flock. And he was talking about me. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to write this as a demon. This guy's calling me a demon. I'll write it as a demon. And then I went home and started writing, and I just didn't stop. I do 18 hours a day sometimes writing, just to the point where my older daughter, tried to do an intervention on me. She got my friends together and said, hey, he's lost it, man. He's lost it.
I can only imagine it must have been a pretty therapeutic experience for you.
Well, yes and no.
Hmm.
Like at the time, I had a Jesuit brother as a spiritual advisor,
Oh,
so I had to
wow.
stop seeing him. So I cut out everything. Like I cut out everything, and then the difficulty is, it's almost like, oh God, punch me if I just get too off. It's almost like being an actor. You have to become that part. It's dangerous, you become the part, man.
Yes, yes.
I love it in Tropic Thunder when he talks about him going full retard. He goes, yeah, you couldn't get your mind back. He goes, when I played Neil Armstrong, Robert Downey Jr. says this. He goes, when I played Neil Armstrong, they found me in an alley in a cardboard box, pretending that I was coming back to Earth.
Wow. It's
So
method, right?
right, well, and that's it. So to write, being a writer, so I have to go back and hey, I'm writing about drinking. So what does it taste like? So I
Yeah.
have to put it in I not literally put it in my throat,
Yeah. But
in
you have
my
to go
mind.
there.
Exactly. What does it taste like? When you hit somebody and you hit them in the face, how much does the flesh give before you hit teeth? Like what does it feel to go in and hit like that? So it got extremely dark. Like I was extremely dark and and that's why my daughter and my friends were so worried about me. And I just told them, I said, just let me finish. Let me finish. Don't, let me finish, please. I'll be okay. Just let me finish. And I finished it. And, some people think that the demon idea is too far. Some people, it's like, whatever. It just helped. It helped to distance myself from what actually happened, I guess, and I changed names because I didn't want to hurt people.
Of course, of
That was the
course.
other thing. It's like I've already hurt them once. And once I finished the book, I almost wasn't going to release it
Really.
because I didn't want to re-hurt those people. I didn't want to, it's like I've already hurt them once and made amends for hurting them. I don't want to re-hurt them, you know?
Did any of those people that are in the book read the book and know that it was in fact them that you were writing about?
Yeah, yeah. And some of them, it was funny because a few of the guys like, why didn't you use my real name? I mean, they wanted their real name, in the book. And if you talk to my mom would say, I can tell you stories that aren't in that book, just shit like that. But it was very, very difficult. And I know one night, I was doing a reading and my older daughter was there and she started crying. She was crying. It was a real heavy moment because there's about 200 people in this room and I'm giving a reading and my daughter starts crying and I start crying and it was like, it was theater, but it wasn't good theater. You know what I mean? It was real theater. It was in the middle of the reading, all of a sudden this is going on, and it was fucking heavy. I hurt a lot of people. So
Man, for those of you listening, American Demon is Jack's memoir. So it's very personal, very heavy, as you say. But it's interesting to hear you talk about what does the punch feel? How much does the flesh give when that happens? In hearing you talk about it, makes so much sense why your words are so descriptive, your sentences. You're such an interesting writer. You're so descriptive. You really take us there. It's wonderful.
well, I appreciate that. And but yeah, it was just a real, nobody wants that stuff in floating around in your head. You know what I mean? But it gets great reviews. It's I read a review. It was funny. Somebody had left a review the other day, and they said this book is way better than it should be. They didn't expect it. They said it's like reading a piece of like classic literature, but dealing with punk rock and
Yeah.
in Huntington Beach or whatever. Long Beach, Huntington Beach, and anyway.
What inspired you to write that?
Well, it was kind of money. It was
Okay. Yeah.
kind of money was
Yeah.
because I have difficulty holding a real job. I can get a job, I just can't hold a job. That's the issue.
A lot of artists are like that.
Yeah, but we're good going in. We interview well.
Very well.
Like,
Yes.
oh, we want
Yes.
this man on our team.
Yes.
It's like, oh, he's not on our team. And then it was kind of a challenge from a friend. I had this crazy friend, Bobby, and so when you're touring, there'll be a lot of late night drives. And I'm normally the driver. I'll wake up and I fall asleep early, but I normally wake up about 1 or 2 a.m. and I'm ready to drive. So then sometimes so people will sit up with you so you don't fall asleep at the wheel,
Yeah.
which I've done. And you start talking. Well, my buddy Bobby, he used to always have these crazy plans. He goes, all right, I'm going to start a punk rock drive-in movie theater laundromat so you can drop your laundry off as you're watching a movie and listening to punk rock. I go, you're
I like that.
and I said, look, man, I go, if you do it, it was like Lieutenant Dan for us. If you ever do it, I will be there. I go, you are so full of shit. You never shut up. He goes, well, what about this book? He goes, you've been talking about writing a book. He
Ooh,
goes, how come you've never written it? And I
busted.
thought, all right, I'll write it, and and that was something else because he was right about one thing. I had never written a book. I'd never done any more than just a few. Luckily, I'm an avid reader. I and so
Clearly.
I grew up on books. I grew up with it, and so but I'd never written or thought about writing. And so my editor at the time was my girlfriend. My live-in girlfriend was editing for me because she had gone to school or whatever, right? So when I have all the first edited drafts that she had gone through. So I would give her a chapter and she'd just redline it all
Ooh,
the way through, all the
ooh,
way through. I'm like,
brutal.
come on, man, come on. But I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's like, she'd say shit like, "Are you kidding me? Are you just randomly throwing periods in? Do you even know where these go?" It's like because I didn't, run on sentences, and so she just started So I was learning as I was writing. So I'm
Yes.
learning as I was writing, and then towards the end, you're getting into chapter 11 and 12, and it's not redlined as bad. And I told her, I said, "Hey, you're not doing your job," and she said, "No, you're doing yours." So yeah, so it was I'm very grateful to her. I learned a lot from her, from working with her. Now from her experience with that was not as pleasant. To have to listen to those things and read
Yeah,
those things about the man that you're sleeping with,
that's
and
gnarly.
then have to lay down next to me and go to bed knowing that. And I used to tell her, take your feelings out of this. just just disappear. Take your feelings out of this. No emotions, and so anyway, so it didn't go well for her, but I will always be grateful to her for it, for what she did.
Thank you for sharing that story because honestly, this is one of the things that I respect about you, and one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show. As artists, so many of us get caught in the trap of, I've never done this before. I don't know how to do it. They're dreaming about it, thinking about it, and never freaking do it. And what you do, from what I've observed, just like this book, your films, you have no idea, but you say, fuck it, I'm doing it. And that is just so valuable and so brave. And I really encourage anyone listening to listen to Jack. Check out his stuff. You just do it. You just do it.
Well, you jump in. Well, no, it's not. What's funny? I got it. So Orson Welles. I saw this thing with Orson Welles, and they said, "Well, how was this? How was this movie so great that you made?" He goes, "Ignorance." Ignorance.
It's
He said he
bliss.
had no idea what was going on. So he just jumped in, and he didn't know he couldn't do it because he didn't know he couldn't do it, or at least that they had said he couldn't do it. He'd never listened to him, never heard it. So he just did what he wanted to do. He just jumped in. And, when I directed the Ignore Heroes movie, the T.S.O.L movie, my whole motto was fuck your notes, because, everybody wants something to say about what you're doing.
Yep.
And especially you have never seen it in art as much as I've found that you see it in filmmaking. So if I'm making a painting, I don't got people coming and going, I would have used more red in
No.
that section. Or you but when it comes to filmmaking, you come in, everybody's got something to say. It's almost like they think that it's their duty to say something and force a change, because somehow it's like they don't understand that they could sit back and go, no, fine. I'm dealing with that on the script I just wrote right now. Um, I know, I know how this fucking script is supposed to go.
See?
I know the characters. I know the audience. Not, of course, the audience is always me. I am the audience. You do it for
Yes.
yourself. But I under,
Absolutely.
I know the people that are watching this film. I know where their headset is. I know where their mind is, and I know what they're capable of ingesting. It's like, so I know that. Now other people read the script, they say, "Oh, well, there's a lot of monologues in this." It's like, "Hey, look, I wrote this for people that listen to monologues daily. This is what they listen to. They're used to this." And specifically, the people that I wrote this script for, other than myself, are used to listening to 45-minute monologues without visual stimulation. So I'm giving them maybe a 5 minute, not even that, a 2 minute monologue or whatever the hell, in film, 2 minutes, that's a long time,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
giving them. And so to me, these aren't really these are just short bits. They're short bits. But anyway, so I wrote this screenplay and then taking it around and trying to get people to understand what you're doing is difficult sometimes.
This is a good segue into a principle of recovery. I'm using my gut here. You're talking about monologues, 45 minutes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. So that is so interesting too. Like, again, what inspired you to write that book? Just like, boom, here's the big one. And now I have my own ideas, my own interpretation. And here's what I think. I'm just going to freaking put it out there.
Well, it, talking about that group, the founder of that group wanted us to give our interpretations.
Ah.
The trouble is with a lot of this stuff is people can't see. I don't know if I'm intelligent enough to explain this.
Yeah, you
They
are. Stop
can't.
it.
They can't see beyond what they have been told. So they hear this. They hear this. They say, "This is this. This is this. This is this." But there's not many people that sit back and say, "Wait a minute. Maybe that isn't what it is." Oh, look, somehow, see how that did that? How did I do that?
Ah, that's
Oh, it,
creepy.
yeah, it's creepy if you, I don't know what it,
Oh my God.
anyway, yeah, somebody showed me that the other day. If you make a heart, I can't make a heart. My hands are cut. But anyway,
It
I
pops
don't know
up.
how it works. Whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right.
Yes.
So,
Principle of recovery.
yes. So going back, so they're told this and they never sit back and say, is that really right? Is it
Hmm.
really right? What they say, does this really make sense? And the other thing is, in that realm, the realm of recovery, we're talking about your own conception or understanding of God. Your
Yes.
own, not your. It's yours. It's mine. It's theirs. It looks different to everyone.
The God of your understanding.
Your understanding. That's right. So when we walk out to the ocean and see something, we're looking at the ocean. People go, well, it looks gray, it looks blue, it's green, it's this, it's that. So all these different looks at this ocean. But what happens in a lot of recovery is they get a person, they walk a new person out to the ocean, and they say, the ocean is navy blue. And that little person says, the ocean's navy blue. And the next person, the ocean is navy blue. And it just goes down the line.
Mhm.
So they're not really willing to look at it and say, no, it's not. And a lot of them are afraid. Their lives, they've destroyed their lives. Their
Yeah.
lives a mess. They're afraid. They're broken. They're afraid. And they're willing to go along with what anyone tells them because they're scared.
Yeah.
So a principle of recovery was written from a point of being fearless in regards to what I'm looking at. I'm not afraid. So it's like, let's look at this. Let's challenge this. Does this stand up? Does this make sense? And I'm just going to tell you my experience with it.
Yes.
And it may not be yours. So I'm just going to give you mine. If it's helpful, great. If it's not, great. Great. That's it. It's not coming on high. This is the way it is. Not that. It's
Right.
just, hey, this is the way I look at it. And I wish there was more of that. I think that in recovery the palette is very limited,
Mm.
and especially the sad thing is it has the promise of an unlimited palette, which I wish was a little more.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
as you know, the God part, turns a lot of people off, turns a lot of people away. People can't stomach it. A lot of.
You're right. You're right. And it's a difficult issue, and I agree. Like when people say, "Hey, the program doesn't work," I say, "I agree. I'm with you. It
Yeah.
doesn't work for a whole bunch of people."
Yeah.
Because basically, what they're trying to do is they're hoping that there's some psychic shift, change, awakening in the head. That's
Yes.
what they're hoping for.
Yes.
And for someone like me, it did happen. It happened. Now I never got visited by a god. No angels have come down. I mean, goddamn, as an old science fiction fan, for me, I used to read like, Harlan Ellison, Bradbury, Kuttner, all these guys. Man, I would love if a being showed up in my office and said, Jack, let's let's chat. Oh my God, I'd be thrilled. Never happened. Never happened. But I would be operating and I'd hear somebody say something and I'd think, God damn, me too. Shit, I
Mm.
hurt my kid like that. I was a crappy dad.
Ugh.
I wasn't a good son. I was, and luckily, I was open enough to receive it, to receive it, and I'm constantly receiving. There's a great line I heard one time because the other thing about the program, sometimes you'll get these guys with a lot of time, a lot of sobriety, and they come on as if they've got it down. I heard a guy one time and he had 50 something years of sobriety, and he said the ripe fruit rots on the vine.
Ooh.
What a great line. Stay green.
Stay
Stay
green.
green. You're learning.
Green
You're,
pony. Oh, I'm thinking stay gold too, right? Pony boy. Stay green,
pony
stay
boy, stay
gold.
gold.
Yeah.
But to stay green, to stay new, to stay
New.
fresh,
Yes.
to always be learning, because especially if we are talking about this supposed God, we're talking about an
Yes.
infinite timeline.
Yes.
So who can claim old age on an infinite timeline? It's not happening, man. It's we're students. We should stay students. Stay green, stay young, stay fresh. Always learning and changing, evolving.
And you really do. You really do that in your life, from what I've observed. Again, with making movies, with writing these books, you do photography. I mean, you're constantly expanding as a human, as an artist.
Well, I thank you. I it just fascinates stuff fascinates me. Like
Yeah.
right now, so I'll tell you what I'm working on right now. This is so I wrote this script. I wrote this script and a famous scriptwriter, scriptwriter was talking to me about it. And he was saying how, he said, "Hey Jack, you're a great writer, but sometimes in movies they want less. You
Less.
need less." And he writes a lot of TV, a lot whatever, and I understand what he's thinking. So he goes, God, this story would make a great book. Okay, so yesterday I took my script and put it to the side. And now on the opposite way, normally a script comes from a book. Now a
Yes.
book's coming from the script. And it's really interesting to see how much more work as a writer of a book you have to put in than a writer of a script.
Yes.
It's easy if I can say, hey, moonlit night, California, done.
Done.
That, you know what I mean? But now if I'm writing a book about how do I describe this? How do I describe this scene? What gets pulled? What was it's strange. It's like what is added to the script that cannot be put in the book. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if I'm reading a book and I adapt it to a movie,
Yep. Yep.
then I say, oh, I can bring in this song right here. I can
Yes.
bring in this. But when you're writing a book, you can't do that. Unless I said, in little parentheses at this portion of the book, put on the carpet as close to you while you read this paragraph, whatever, which would actually be funny. I don't think anybody's ever done that. It's like they should say, okay, right now, put on this song and read this scene. So,
It's so it's so interesting, and I'm curious to see on Facebook. I don't know if it was weeks ago, months ago, but I was so touched because you were talking about this script and you were expressing how passionate you are about this project, how dedicated you are to this project because you feel like it'll really help people and that you really, really want to make this movie.
right. And
So,
that's what the movie's about, helping someone.
helping
That
someone, right?
well, you won what like of course it and that was something else I had to really come to terms with, like is it for me?
Hmm.
I mean, in the long run it is for me because maybe in helping someone else I'm helping
Help
myself,
yourself. Yeah.
so and not necessarily helping myself now, but helping myself as if I was that other person. Uh
Hmm.
you know, there's a John Donne, no man is an island, we're like a promontory and each man's death diminishes me. So I am that person that I hope gets help from this film. So do you see what I'm saying? So my reasoning for doing it is to help somebody. Want to do it because it's important to me, but also if one fucking guy, one person, if one person
It's help.
says, "Wow, that really opened my eyes. That really changed me." Now I get letters like that every day.
I bet.
Well, I know it can work. Like especially in the recovery book, I get people writing me every day and saying, "Hey, look, man, I don't know you. I had no idea you even played music. I had no idea. I looked you up and thought, fuck, is this the same guy?" And they write me. They say, "Hey, this changed my life." Now, do I think I don't think I'm the changer of that person's life. All I did was paint a picture of a power that they could tap into. It didn't have anything to do with me. I was just the painter of that, the author of this, but it has nothing to I there's no that power is not in me. It's not coming from me. I'm not some guru spiritual advisor cat. I'm just laying it out and they happen to read it and it changed the way they looked at things. So I get that every day. Now, what if I was able to create a movie that
Yes.
did the same thing? So so and I told people before, look, I don't even give a shit if my name is on this movie. I would do it for free. I don't want anything out of it. If somebody wants to come and say, "Hey, Jack, I'll give you the money, but I'm taking it all," I'd say, "Great, take it all. You can take it all. I don't care. I just want to make it. I just want to make this thing."
And I believe that's the attitude that we need to have as artists. And I also believe that's where the best art comes from. It's this deep desire to want to share, to want to express an idea, a feeling, what have you. And I think that's why your work touches so many people, because it does come from a place of this deep desire to express this idea, this thought, what have you.
Right. To be so driven that you will destroy everything around you to create it, to make it,
Oh,
no
and
matter to what it is. But it's also very
yes, it's very
it's very
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable, man. I mean, it's extremely uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable.
So
And
tell me then.
yes.
Okay, so you have your script, you love the script, just now you're talking about possibly turning it into a book. So are you going to go that route? Because right now, and I'm sure you know, IP and, novels always get made into great films. A lot of them do. So is that the track now? Okay, I'll make it into a novel, then make the film?
Well, I don't know what the track is. I mean, it's just so it's out in the universe.
Right,
I've talked to people. I said, "Hey, look, I want to make this. I'm trying to find the money to make this, and
great.
I don't want to crowd fund it. It's too much to crowd
Oh,
fund,
it's a nightmare.
and it's a nightmare. It's too much to crowd fund. But on the scale of making a movie, like I've already got the budget done. I paid a guy to make the budget for it. So it's like a $5 million movie. That's it. So on the scale of
Yeah,
it's a larger independent, but that's a
yes.
small movie, man. That to most people that's a small movie. And anyway, so it's out there, and I'm trying to find the money to get this movie made. Somebody that will allow me to make it. I'm not going to give it to somebody else. I'm not gonna. Somebody said, "What about selling the script?" It's like, no, thank you. It's like I'm gonna make this film. You don't know where it comes from. You know, no, no. And even they say, well, you're not. You only directed one film. It's like, great. Then I'll get a great assistant director and a great cinematographer, and we'll sit and we'll talk through every shot because I
Yes,
know the story. Now they don't know
yes,
the story. I know the story.
yes.
And anyway, so then I thought, hey, on the side, I thought, okay, I'm going to just turn this into a book also, and I'll put the book out. And if the book reaches somebody that will say, hey, I want to make a movie out of this, then I can say, well, I already have the script for it. Here's the script. So,
That's great. That's smart. It's wise. So many people want that proof first. Okay, the book did well. People like the book, or oh, okay, I can read the book. Now I get it. They always want to make something off an existing property, if you will, which
Right.
is at least you can write. So novels
Yeah.
and screenplays. A lot of screenwriters can't do that. I've never written a novel. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
From the start.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
can just jump in anywhere. You can just jump in any chapter anyway. I always just tell people, don't write a novel, write one chapter, write one
Hmm.
paragraph. Give me a paragraph about this. One incident, one moment in your life. Give me a paragraph.
That's
I,
great.
I used to facilitate a writing class on Wednesday nights at my house,
Ah,
and we'd get together and work on flash fiction shorts. And
ah.
anyway, it was real fun. But my trouble is I don't sell a lot of books.
Hmm.
You when you go into if you look me up on the horoscope, it says I'm going to be more famous in death than I am in life. So I've never really had like a big publishing house or whatever pushing something or whatever. My work gets great reviews, but it's very, it's small. It's one of those things where if one book takes off, they're going to go, well, God, do you look at any of this? Look at all these others. And that's when somebody else says, I've been following for 30 years.
Right,
Man,
right.
we'll see what happens. But it is fun writing the book after the film. It's really been interesting because I'm in a scene right now where so in the film, in the intro through the credits, there are four
Mm.
scenes running in the intro through the credits, no dialogue. So now going back, I have to fill in those scenes with dialogue. Like,
Huh.
so now to really show the scene, because one of them is it's a woman at a bar and she starts a fight in the bar. So you got to go back. And the first line of the book is, you can't get a decent meal around here. I'm not fucking kidding. Yeah, we got that fusion joint on Atlantic, but I'll tell you, Jamie, that hostess can be a real bitch. It's like, so she's drunk, getting
Right.
loud.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
that line is not in the film. She never says that. You don't hear a word out of her mouth. You just are watching this thing escalate where she, the like later on she says a waiter grabs a bottle. She grabs a champagne bottle off somebody's table and takes a drink. And the waiter says, we've called the police. And she says, good, let them come. She grabs a handful of scampi and throws it across the room. You murdered the fucking shrimp. Murderers. She's fucking high. She's drunk.
Wow.
Now in the opening of the film, you just see this escalate from them drinking to her, like all of a sudden she's in a fist fight. It's gone
I
crazy,
see. Yeah.
but you don't hear any of this. So now going back and writing the book,
Novel.
I'm writing it. I'm doing it backwards. So now I am writing what a director would cut out of the book to make the film. When this book is adapted to a screenplay, the screenwriter took all this dialogue out
Out.
and said, let's just show it. Let's show it happening.
Exactly.
And so do you see what I'm saying? So I'm writing what they would cut out,
Yes.
which is kind of interesting. It's I hope that makes sense. It's like, so
No, it does, because in a film, and like what you're describing in the opening scene, we're just watching the behavior of this woman in the bar, right? We're
as the
seeing what she's
credits are rolling,
doing, right? As
right?
the
As
credits
the
are rolling.
credits are rolling.
In
Yeah.
the novel, we get to be in her head, right? Because in a
Right.
novel, you can do that. In a film, you don't really know what someone is thinking. You just watch their behavior. And then that lets you see, oh, I can imagine what they're thinking. Unless you have like a narrator or a voiceover. But yeah,
Right.
it does make
Right.
total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting to think about this. Like, and when you read a novel and then you go to see the movie and you go, God, I hope they kept it close. I hope they kept
Yes.
it close. And then you go,
Yes.
well, God, why did they cut out that scene with the
Yes.
chicken? What the fuck, man?
All the
So
time.
so it's trippy that I'm that I'm writing the scenes that were cut out of the film,
That
and
is what
it's
a
an
mind
interesting.
fuck.
It's a mind fuck. Yeah, it's like I think, and I don't know who. I don't know. I'm sure someone's done it. I'm sure someone's taken a movie and written the novel after they wrote the screenplay, but I don't know how many of them. So
I don't know.
I think this would be one of them where one of those old men or women go, "You can't do that, son. That's
Oh
not the way
gosh.
we do it around here." You know?
You have so much of that in this town of what you can and can't do, or how something should or shouldn't be done. Which is again why I love hearing you say "f your notes." You know, this is the
Yeah.
way I want to freaking make this movie.
Yeah, if I do get a chance to make this movie, I'm gonna get a shirt that says "fuck your notes" on it. So it's well, one of my favorite scenes is you ever see that producer giving David Lynch shit about how long the scene is? Have you ever seen
No,
that? He's like, it's
I
like
love Lynch.
the producer says the scene's too long, and he looks just, how do you know? What do you talk? Get out of here! Leave me alone, man. You know, it's like, how do you know this scene's too long? Make your own goddamn food. The cool thing about not knowing is you do
Yes.
make a lot of mistakes that someone has made before you, and you know, which is like, hey, you could have learned that. You know, you are supposed to put your shoes on before you go outside. Now you didn't know that, so you make a lot of dumb little mistakes like that. But then you can also come up with shit that's never been thought of. Now I'll tell you one. I know no one's ever done this. I know it is because I had a director friend of mine say, "God damn, I've never heard that ever." So I was on Facebook one day screwing around. I'm screwing around and I write, I get up, you know, and I write, I write, I need coffee in the morning. I can't do shit without a cup of coffee in the morning, right? Blah, blah, blah. That just, I write it. Okay. So people start commenting on the coffee. They start commenting on it. All right. So then, after about 100 comments, I went back and changed the original text. And I said, I can't do nothing without a big old penis in my mouth first thing in the morning, right? Now, all those comments are, I need two, I need a bunch, I need it hot, black, cream and sugar for me, right? And so now here are all these crazy comments based on this original thing thrown out. Now,
Wow.
now people are coming in, commenting even later, going, "What the fuck going on here?" You know, because they're just reading it like that. Okay, now I was screwing around, I was screwing around, and then just filed it, filed it, filed it.
Right.
Okay, so I'm at a film festival one time, and I'm watching these films, and I thought, God damn, the story's great, the acting's shit. The acting shit. And how bad acting can ruin great writing every time. And good acting, on the other hand, can turn bad writing into something, you know. So anyway, so now that gets filed. That gets filed. So then I matched the two. I matched the two, the bad acting with the thing. And I thought these people that commented on that coffee post, they were honestly giving their opinion of what they thought they had read.
Right.
Right? So I thought, what if I made a film and didn't let the actors know what the film was about? So don't tell them what it's about. And then, so the movie that I made, it's called 288. And
Yes.
it's on Vimeo, and it's a movie about sexual abuse, child
Yes.
sexual abuse. Okay.
Lots of
So,
monologues in that one too, which work beautifully, beautifully.
right.
And harp like, ugh, yeah.
And it exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, here's the thing. None of those guys knew what that film was about. None of them knew. Now, it's shot like a documentary. Okay. Now, so what I did is because I was actually abused as a kid. So this is what comes from this, right? So
Sorry, Jack.
no, it's not
Yeah, but
you know, it is what it is. It is
yeah.
what it is. No big deal. Okay. So what are the feelings that go the betrayal, hurt, blah, blah, blah. So now I set up an interview with these guys and I said, have you ever been betrayed by a friend?
Hmm.
Now here's my question. Have you ever been betrayed by a friend? And they'd say, yeah. And I'd say, well, how did it feel? Well, I didn't see it coming. I was just I was so hurt. I had counted on this person, and they meant the world to me, and
Wow.
they betrayed me. Now, so what I did is I asked them questions based on
The
emotions,
feeling,
the
yes.
feelings behind this. They're giving me honest answers. They're not acting. These are real answers. They are giving me real answers about
Wow.
these feelings of being betrayed, of being hurt, about anger, about revenge, resentment. So I took their real answers and then framed them within a space of people that were sexually or
Oh, God.
physically
Yes.
abused as kids. And then to have the abuser in there, I had him speak on entitlement, how he felt about people being entitled, how he felt about the generation today because he was a Vietnam veteran. He put his time in. He had been in the jungle. It's like, fuck these little kids, fuck these little pricks. They're up there in their fucking houses jerking off or whatever the fuck they're doing, saying everything's wrong, everything's a fucking problem. He did it, he did it, he did it. So now here is the abuser basically defending himself against his accusers,
Yes.
saying, hey, they asked for it.
And that
They need to
was
stand up. Uncomfortable.
that's
They need
so
to
uncomfortable,
stand up.
so brutal to watch, but so
Yes, they
just
need to
like,
stand up. Okay, so no one knew, not even the cinematographer, no
holy
one knew
crap.
what the movie was about. None of them knew. I didn't tell anyone. Just we're going to just shoot this and then mine that emotion from them, real, real emotion.
Real
So
emotion.
it took an average person who is not a award-winning actor, blah blah blah, and then had them tell the truth. And so basically, and I realized it worked when I sat in a movie theater and listened to people cry around me, and I thought to myself, God damn it, man, they don't understand that these are all actors. These are all actors. This is Oscar caliber acting out of people that aren't acting.
But
So
that, you just hit the nail on the head. That is what acting is. It's telling the truth. Period.
and that's what they were doing.
And that's what
But it
they
was
did.
reframed in a different space.
Gosh.
So
So this whole concept came from this coffee post, and then you just thought, what if I did this? Wow.
yeah, what if I did this to this to this? And then and if you're watching it, look up 288 on
Yeah,
Venmo.
no, I've seen it. It's
Yeah.
brutal. It's brutal and just beautifully done.
So I give a monologue at the end, and as a woman, dressed as a woman, because when you're
Yeah.
when you're sexually abused as a kid, you think, well, what am I, straight? Am I gay? What
Right.
what am I, man?
Right.
Am I what is this?
Yeah.
And the anger and the violence that comes from that, you know, uh, as a kid,
Confusion.
I was lighting fires and hurting animals and defecating myself, all this shit that came from that abuse. So the end, it's a monologue where, and it's spoken in almost, it's like, I wonder if you think of me. It's this real flowing, and it's the abused kid writing a letter to the abuser saying, hey, I wonder if you think of me. Do you remember how it felt when you touched me? Like almost like it's almost like, well, why have you abandoned me? It's this thing, so anyway, yeah, a very, very heavy film. And it started, the idea from the film started from the monologues. I was sitting around one day, I thought, God, why, I wonder what it's like to write a love letter basically to the person that molested you,
Oof.
which is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
why me? What did you see in me that made me attractive to you?
So
So
it's
anyway.
yeah, it so powerful and so brilliant, just the concept and how it came about. I had no idea that all those men were talking about something completely different, but the same emotion, the betrayal, the hurt, the anger. Wow.
Right. And
Something.
And I think what did help it is the majority of those men are in recovery. So
Mm,
I know that a lot of them had that darkness that
yes.
almost, should I commit suicide? Should I end this now? So a lot of them, I knew that they had those emotions that I could mine from them. I knew that was a deep well to pull from.
Holy crap. Wow. So that was a short film. And I saw your other short, Cold Blue. But what I wanted to talk about as well is Ignore Heroes, right? Now
Right.
with this film, I know you did a crowdfunding campaign for that, and I know you learned a lot. You must have learned so much. Just that,
I'd never do another crowdfunding campaign.
yeah, because you have these gifts that you have to mail out. You have these,
Right. I
obligations.
learned a lot from that. That was the natural thing. It was my friend Paul Covington, who's an editor, he told me, he said, Jack, this is film school. Just make a film.
Yep,
You're in film school right now. You're gonna learn how to do this and this. You're gonna
everything.
be outside parking cars, and then you're gonna be inside directing the scene. So I learned a lot from these guys. I learned a lot from Paul Covington. I learned from Chris Plavelt, one of the cinematographers. Like, there's a lot to learn from these guys.
What was so great about this film? I went and I saw it at the Frida Theater, and again, this is just this is a theme I think in so much of your work is just doing what you want and completely thinking out of the box and doing things that you're not quote unquote supposed to do in film, right? Like it should run, 60 minutes. A documentary should be like this. This kind of, you don't do any of that. You don't subscribe to any of those rules. And because of that, we get this piece of art that is just so authentic, so different, so unusual, and just such a freaking treat to watch. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, I wish I could have cut more down on. It is a little long. Knowing now,
Ah, it is what it is.
yeah, it is a little it is a little it is a little long, but that was something else. I didn't want the standard documentary. It's like, God, we've seen those, man. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's put this guy on stage. And it just happens to be me. Look, I almost wish it wasn't me,
No,
that
it's
it was that I
cool.
was the I wish I'll call it like I was the xylophone player in the band, and I'm going to take the singer and make him do this, But it just happened to be me because that's what I do, and it's basically a monologue. It's I'm on stage talking, bringing in these characters, and and doing it. So it's something.
Now listen,
It's something.
you're saying that here's the thing, you're saying that okay, I wish it wasn't so long or maybe I would have cut more, but aren't you just so glad that you made whatever you think, I don't want to call it a mistake, but you have, oh, I wish I would have done that. I think, I don't know, aren't you glad that you did it on the way you wanted to, as opposed to making a quote unquote mistake based on a note that you got from someone else and then changed it? Do you know what I'm saying? Am I
Yeah,
making
I
sense?
do, and yes, I exactly. And it was like, hey, man, maybe I would have done this, but I did this. This is what I did. This is what it is, and I'm fucking proud of it. It's
Yeah.
like it's like I said, nothing against anyone else's documentary, but it's like, hey, we've seen that, we've seen that, we've seen that, we've seen that. It's like, give me something we haven't seen. Give me this. I want to see something I've never seen before.
Yes.
And I think especially with T.S.O.L, because so much of that band has been these changes, this to this to this to this. That it's important that we also stay out of the box when we're making a film too. That was important to me.
Because
You know,
that's who TSOL is. You've never been in a box. You've had your own punk rock box. Then your goth, you had all kinds of boxes. You've never stayed in a box.
right? And I think it's good to just because that's what punk rock supposedly was.
Yes.
It was supposedly, let's push this limits. Let's try this. That's supposedly what we're supposed to be doing in here.
Yeah.
Which to me is just so crazy sometimes when anyway, let's God bless everybody with the high holidays and fucking everything else. I just think, we're supposed to be challenging ourselves and challenging what's happened within a certain framework. I did enjoy making that film. It was a good learning lesson. I did find out where the money goes. When somebody says, God, I saw that film they made, how did they spend that much money? Well, I'll tell you exactly how they spent that much money. And we were getting favors and help and whatever. And it's like we're pushing $70,000, $80,000 on that film, man. It's a lot of money, a lot of money.
It's because of the people. You have to hire so many different people to do different things, right? It is
Right. And
truly a
then
collaboration.
exactly. And then animation is like expensive
Oh
and
gosh, it's so expensive.
right. You got animation, you got score, you got, you got all the after stuff, going on. It's a lot of money, these things. A lot of people involved, a lot of money. Rental. I mean, the set alone. So that set came from I saw this photograph and I thought, oh, that's bitching. They're using a forced perspective in that set. So I hired carpenters. So at my office here, there's another office across the hallway. And so I rented that office for a month. I told the people here, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to shoot a movie. I'm going to shoot it in there. I'm going to rent this office space for a month. So I did. And then I brought in carpenters and they
Mhm.
built a set inside the office. So
Right,
so it looks when you look at the room in Ignore Heroes, it looks deeper than it is, but it's forced perspective. So the walls go back like this. So it looks deeper and they're out at the front of it. So the room in reality is only like, so many feet.
right, right.
Well, it's tight. It's tight. Okay. And then, somebody said, I heard him go, oh, I like all these rooms. Well, it's the same room. It's the
Right.
same room every time. So what happened was we would bring, one of the guys in. So Ron, I'd say, okay, Ron, you're gonna wear the blue suit. So we're gonna do the walls blue. We're gonna bring these blue paintings in. We're gonna do
Ooh.
this. So the set is designed for Ron. And then the minute his interview, so he shoots that day, we're on a timeline. This guy this day, this guy this day, this guy this day. So when Ron's done, the walls get stripped, the room gets painted, and then I would come back the next morning, pull the tape, and then set dress the room, repaint it to the next guy's color, and then set dress it to fit him.
Holy.
So so each one of those people have their own room based on, you know, basically how I felt about the colors that would be good for the
Yeah.
what was happening. So it's the same room every time. Every time it's the same room redressed.
Movie magic.
Movie magic. Yeah, baby. Yeah. So and there's stuff, it's like, yeah, movie magic. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but
But I would
behind the
love
scenes, it's not magic at all.
no, no, but I tell you, man, I would
It's
I would
blood,
love
sweat,
to
and
have
tears.
yeah, I would love to have a little more budget and a larger crew to be able to just say, hey, let's get this, let's do this. You know, uh just
And
that ability.
You will
I
on your next film.
I will. That's right. That's a good way to think. Yes, I will.
No, you will. And you hear this so much. Oh, you've only made this movie, you've only made one or none. None of that freaking matters. Do you know how many first-time directors have movies come out? You've made a feature film, Jack.
Right, right. And I have, and you're right. But I'm also a 62-year-old white man. No, listen, we're not very popular. We're not
Not
very
right now. You're not.
anyway, yes.
Yes. No, no, no. We're running up on time here. But before, I want to talk about A-side graffiti real quick.
Okay, great. Great. Yeah. So a collection of just so for me, that was just about, hey, let's try something. Oh, hey, I heard this song. Let's try to cover this. Oh, let's give this feel. Let's try this. So it was all just little tries. Let's hey, I want to do a soul song. Hey, I want to try this. So let's just go experiment, try stuff. There was no intention of any of those songs ending up on a record. That was
Really?
not our intention whatsoever. Just a single. just a single. The album name A Side Graffiti is because those songs were like tags. It was like tagging a wall. It's
Oh,
just like, oh,
wow.
let's just tag this, let's tag that, let's tag that. So A side meaning a song and like a single. So
Yep.
it's A side graffiti. It's just tagging. It's just putting up different tags on a wall and seeing it. And so there was no intention of ever making that into a full record. And then the producer, Paul Rossler, said, hey, we should really try to gather all this stuff together and keep it together, gather all these songs you've done and just keep it together. He goes, we could put it on a record or something. Like, oh, okay, sounds great. Let's put a record out. And, it's actually a surprise. They gave me the songs and they said, put these in order for a record. And then once you're going and putting them in order, there's a cohesiveness that
See,
wasn't there before. And I think it's actually, I listened to it. I thought, fuck, all right, it's actually a pretty good record.
it is. It is. I
Yeah,
listened to it too. And then you did like a video contest, right?
right. That was fun. Well,
That's a cool video too. Oh my God.
a bunch of great videos. Now, here's something that I do feel good about thinking about this. So when I got into punk rock, there wasn't, Hot Topic, although the very first punk shirt in Hot Topic was a
It's
TSOL.
a all shirt.
So there wasn't like all these stores you could go and get your band shirt at. And bands in those days, they didn't have t-shirts. They weren't selling merch like they do today. So if you wanted a shirt, you'd get
You make
Germ,
it yourself.
Black Flag, whatever, you'd make your own
Yeah.
shirt, right? And some of those shirts would be great, and some of those shirts not so good. Whatever, depending on whatever when you're making them, right? Now, these days, you can get the punk rock shirts. You can get those. That's easily got. But these days, in my belief now, you can make a video to your favorite song as if you were making an old punk rock shirt. So here's the song. You guys got the pencils, you got the pens, you got it right there. Make your video for our song. Those were all made by friends, fans, kids. They're going to make a video like they made a punk rock shirt. And they're going to put it up. And some of them are going to be great and some of them are going to be not so great, but they were all handmade by the people that like the band.
I
Which,
love that.
yeah, for free. On either way, they do what
Yeah.
they do. We don't have nothing. We didn't have anything to do with it, and we get nothing out of it
But
other
it's
than
a
they make their video.
win-win for both people because you get a great video and that artist gets their work seen.
Right, right, whatever. And it's just a cool. It's the videos today are the punk rock shirts of yesterday, in my opinion.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that. In your film, well, like in Ignore Heroes, in the a couple of them, you play a character, you do some acting. Would you ever consider acting, but not playing yourself, playing a character in someone else's films
yeah.
or shows?
I've been asked to do that. I don't think I'm a very good actor. I
You tell the
actually
truth, Jack. You tell the truth.
I actually did an animated movie that's coming out. There's a I
For the
play
voice, the voiceover.
Yeah, I play the lead role in an animated movie.
That's acting.
Yeah, this guy. I wish I could have done. And I was in a film called Night Terrors. And a couple people have asked me to be it, but I'd rather be behind the scene, behind the camera than in front of it. So
Ah.
I like being behind the camera. I like creating the story.
I get that, but I just think the reason people ask you is because you are such a presence, not just, physically, but energetically. You're such a presence, and that's wonderful on screen. That really tracks.
Well, it's fun on stage. I like it on stage. I do like giving readings and talks. I do enjoy doing that.
You're
So,
a natural performer.
but I like being behind the camera instead. So,
All right. Well, listen, I just want to ask this question for some sort of philosophical fun. Do you, Jack Grisham, do you feel that you were put on this planet at this particular time in history for a specific reason, or is your being here just random?
and I wish I believed that. I wish. I believe I hear people all the time talking about I found my purpose, my special purpose. I'm more of a random. I just ended up here. This is okay, wait. You ever see Beaches?
Gosh,
Bette
yeah, a long
Midler?
time ago. Bette Midler and yes,
It's
yes.
so rough. So she gets asked a question. She's watching herself do an interview on TV, and they ask her a question, and they go, "Well, who is Cece Bloom?" And so she's watching herself, and the self watching the self is going,
So
"Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it." And she goes, "Cece Bloom is a very intricate person." It's always that answer. It's like, "Oh, will you shut up?" Whatever, a product of the age. That's what I am. You know what I mean? I'm
Hmm,
a product of the age. Whatever this is,
yeah.
I so so
I
this
mean,
is
having said that, though, let's just talk about, or just, I'm just curious, legacy. What type of legacy do you want to leave behind with the body, your body of work? What do you want that to say about you or mean about you in the end?
that's funny you say that because I tell my kids that in my will, it is written that if my death is announced in any way, that they are taken out of the will, that there will be no service, no party, no memorial, that you will never know. I never want to see that I died in any page.
Wow.
What's Yeah. So we're just leaving it out. And they said we can't get together. No, not under that.
Really?
And I don't want anyone to know. And I don't want anyone to say that this guy died, this guy passed. Nothing. Nothing.
Not even for your family that maybe they
Nope.
want to celebrate you.
Nope.
No.
Nothing. Nothing. No memorial. No celebration. No
Just
nothing.
poof.
Gone. Just no. Just fade it out. That this person and that's my goal. To just disappear unknown.
Wash away.
That's wash away, baby. That's right. Well, thank you for having
Thank
me.
you
I really
so
enjoyed this.
much.
I never waste a moment to listen to myself talk.
Thank you so much for hanging out. This has been just so awesome, and I just really enjoyed our conversation. People can find you obviously online, anywhere particular they need to go or you'd like them to check out.
Well, I have a website at jackgrisham.com. They can go look there, and there's always something going on. I'm easy to get a hold of. I tell people all the time, I'm very easy to get a hold of, so maybe sometimes too easy, but I'm easy to get a hold of. And if I don't answer you, well, I might have passed. So you don't
And
know.
with that, we're out.
Thank you.